this was a spiritual journey for us, I'd like to open with a prayer. Holy God, infinite mystery, Mother Wisdom, you hear the cries of the afflicted, you suffer for widows, orphans, and strangers. Teach us, like Hagar, to see you in the wilderness. Embolden us, like Esther, to save our people. Strengthen our voices, like Isaiah, who insists, loose the bonds of injustice, let the oppressed go free, break every yoke. Inspire us, like Ruth, to walk into the unknown with the vulnerable. O divine one of eternal light, lead us through deep waters and guide us along a marvelous way. Amen. And that was written by former campus minister Mary Sue Barnett for our prayer service that preceded our trip. Thank you so much for joining us and for listening to the details of our incredible journey. March the 3rd at 3 o'clock in the morning, 13 of us, our delegation from St. Catherine College, departed for New York City to go to the United Nations 57th Commission on the Status of Women. The United Nations Commission on the Status of Women is a yearly gathering of member states and representatives from non-governmental organizations, otherwise known as NGOs. These representatives convene to evaluate progress on gender equity, to set global standards and policies to promote the advancement of women and girls worldwide. At this UN gathering, it's unique in the fact that NGOs like the Dominican Leadership Conference can attend. This is how we were able to participate in this amazing commission with women leaders and men leaders from all over the globe. Established in 1946, the UN Commission on the Status of Women aims to raise the status of women irrespective of nationality, race, language, or religion to equality with men in all fields of human enterprise, and to eliminate all discrimination against women in the provisions of statutory law, legal maxims or rules, or any interpretation of customary law. This year, the priority theme is the elimination and prevention of all forms of violence against women and girls. The CSW is the principal global policymaking body dedicated exclusively to gender equality and the advancement of women. Faith-based NGOs like the Dominican Leadership Conference are prominent at the event. Through the Dominican Leadership Conference, former campus minister and Dominican associate Mary Sue Barnett connected with Sister Margaret Mace, an NGO representative in special consultative status at the UN. This Dominican sister participates in a number of working groups and commissions at the UN in New York, which focus on issues including HIV/AIDS, immigration, the Israeli-Palestine conflict, and the status of women and girls in international contexts. Our specific involvement came about as a result of several of our students having attended the annual Preaching in Action conferences. From these conferences was born the Kentucky Dominican Young Adults Chapter, which places us within a national and international Dominican youth movement. So our Kentucky Young Dominicans are part of a Dominican family that is global. And it is through this identity and our personal encounter with Sister Margaret at the conferences that Mary Sue introduced the idea to take the Kentucky chapter to the UN. Fortuitously, I happened to be in Chicago when the students were in Chicago for the Preaching in Action conference. Mary Sue and I were emailing about something unrelated, and she said, "Oh, you have to come over and hear Sister Margaret May speak." She knew of my background in gender studies, and my sister had to work during the day, so I drove over and spent the day with our students, which was really great fun and very impressive. Sister Margaret is an incredible woman. And I am so proud that we represented St. Catherine College at the UNCSW. It's not the kind of event that a lot of students go to. It's not the sort of thing where there are all of these student groups there. I've never heard of a college taking more than 1 or 2 students, and we had 10. It's pretty remarkable. We sat in on a global conference aimed at uplifting women, a conference that acknowledges the spiritual component of social justice work and the crucial task of inspiring young leaders to continue the fight at home and abroad. I asked the students to prepare brief remarks on an issue about which they learned at the UNCSW, so I will let them convey to you much of the content that was our week-long endeavor. For me, the most incredible moment was being in the General Assembly. Sister Margaret Mace, through her special consultative status, had 2 passes, the special passes, the exclusive ones, where you got to go in and sit on the real deal with all of the representatives from all over the globe. And the chair and the executive director, Michelle Bachelet, we were in the room, right next to them, in many cases. And in this moment, Jessica and I had the passes, and so we were sitting there furiously taking notes on everything that was happening. It was amazing. And the nations are held accountable. They have to come and report to the director their progress in gender equity and the provisions of the commission, and their failures. It's an intense setting. It's very fascinating. And there was this list of 75 speakers, and they all had a particular time frame. And we were 32 speakers in before the United States was supposed to speak, and they skipped the United States. And so I wrote in my notebook to Jessica, "Where is the United States?" with 3 question marks. I was so disappointed. I thought, what is this? But 20 minutes later, out of order, there we were. Ambassador Susan Rice, who's the permanent representative to the United Nations, finally spoke. And I had the good sense to record this, but not until after her first line, which was the best. "The rights of my daughter are just as real as the rights of my son," she said. And I'd like to share with you the rest of her remarks before I turn this over to the students.
All women and girls have a fundamental right to live free from violence and fear. Whenever one woman suffers physical or sexual abuse, our common humanity is assaulted along with her. Violence against women takes many forms, whether inflicted by a family member or a stranger, by a state-backed militia, or by an abusive partner. When women are attacked, so is their full and equal participation in society, and that of all of us. Violence against women weakens our communities, stunts our economies, and erodes our common values. 20 years ago, the UN General Assembly adopted a landmark declaration on eliminating violence against women. Since then, we have taken major strides to prevent, reduce, and condemn the abuse of women and girls worldwide, and to do more to help those victims that we were not able to save from assault. In a single generation, the ground has shifted. We have debunked the vicious myth
And so she went on for her entire time frame. They were experts at this. They used every moment, except for Kenya, which ran over, which we were talking about at the beginning. Jonathan was teasing me yesterday that I might do this to the students. When they run over, the chair says, "Thank you, honorable," whatever your official title is, and proceeds to the next person. And the Kenyan delegation just kept on talking. And then the next person had to begin because they only have so many minutes. And so it was really a kind of hostile situation. So I won't do that. But we're going to adhere to the time frame, so we should be about an hour. They're each going to speak on their particular issue, and then we will have some videos that Mary Sue took while we were on the trip, and a special message from Mary Sue, and a little bit of a slideshow. So I'll turn this over to Jessica Shelton.